I want to talk to you all about what I call reality collapses. Because if you are on an evolutionary path, you will face reality collapses. If you are someone who is here to see through the veil, you will experience reality collapses. If you are someone coming out of an experience of being gaslit, for example, in a like narcissist, we're going to take the kind of quote unquote cliche, it's just a common patterning of a narcissist and empath relationship, and you are truly committed to seeing clearly on the other side and through the arrival of that experience, then you will face reality collapses. And oftentimes what's happening is that people are experiencing these things, but they are not given words for the experience. It's not like people are out here talking about reality collapses, which, as you know, you all know that I teach evolution, I teach initiation, I walk you through kind of common stages and ways that you can identify where you're at and how you can validate your experiences as being evolutionaries. And so this is one of those transmissions where I'm inviting you into this space of understanding what a reality collapse is, and then you can apply it to these moments inside of your life, whether they have already happened or they are going to happen. You'll be able to make more sense of this phenomenon, this evolutionary phenomenon. So I'm going to pull up someone in the group, something that they shared, because it was inspiration for this transmission. And as you all know, I credit here. So I want to credit Sky. She had commented under a transmission about play and play being an elixir. And she had said, "Oh, this is huge for me. I felt so many coatings landing in my body and spirit. I remember in my early 30s when I realized that I didn't know how to play anymore and just broke down crying. It has been and still is a journey to reclaim this part of myself. I am so grateful to metabolize what you've brought forth here." So the point that I really want to highlight inside of what she shared was this moment, right? This moment where she realized, I don't know how to play. I have forgotten play. In that moment of realization, we can actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to read my comment first before moving forward. So I said in response, a worthy cry, right? Like, isn't it worthy to cry when you realize you've lost play? Play is really essential. It's also connected to, of course, our inner child and our lust for life. And to lose something like that is worthy of a cry. I said, a worthy cry. It's incredible to me how we can lose the foundations. And when we see it, the loss of it, like truly, how moving and shocking it is. I call these moments reality collapses because you see through the illusion and into reality. At the same time, it collapses the prior version of reality, in quotations, you have been existing in. So that helps here, where you all kind of get to receive a little bit of context and definition to what I'm meaning by reality collapse. It's this moment where we have a realization, and this is how I will describe my experience of it, because this very well can support you inside of your own. I describe it as puzzle pieces coming together. Is it not inside of a fractured, fragmented, and shattered world that we lose puzzle pieces. Isn't that what it is to lose memory, which is therefore amnesia? And so we talk about this inside of this group, right? What people are experiencing as this false matrix reality, and what are these common patterns inside of that. And of course, amnesia is one of them. And amnesia is it is soul loss, because you have lost memories relative to your soul level journey, or you have lost and been disconnected from source itself. You have lost connection to deeper truths that, for example, the body holds and knows and doesn't let go of ultimately. And so we will lose these puzzle pieces that are so essential for us to be able to see and be and hold and have access to this larger tapestry. There are some essential foundational puzzle pieces that people are missing and they don't know it. And then we look at this inside of this gaslit world, most especially relative to humans and human relating, and you can see how these foundations are missing. So we can have these moments where one of those puzzle pieces, it lands in, and what happens is it's so interconnected because it's a foundation, right? It's so interconnected that it connects into all these other puzzle pieces, brings this whole chunk of the tapestry together. And what can happen is that literally your neurons, you can experience this as like your brain is illuminating. There are pathways inside of your brain that have been disconnected. And so this is how I experience it. I can feel the threading in my neurons in my brain, and it's all becoming activated. And simultaneously, I am seeing and sensing a wide range of puzzle pieces all dropping into place. Click, 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 boop, 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 boop. And it's like a lot of stimulus. It's a lot of stimulus. And yet I'm seeing so clearly, because in this place I haven't been seeing so clearly, and now I am, and now I have access to this larger tapestry, and so it's opening me up. And simultaneously, as it's opening me up, and I can feel that the soul retrieval, I can feel the moving of this energy through this space where it hasn't had space to move, that is like flowing through my internal eyes, my memory, my soul, the entirety of my landscape. And then it is shifting the filters in front of me. And therefore I can see more clearly now, right? It's almost like, let's say that there was a filter that was foggy, and now you can see clearly relative to whatever that puzzle piece was related to. For example, in this example, for this person, it was play, but it can be so many things. There are a multitude of different foundations upon which our soulful remembrance and the truth itself is built upon. And so when these things come into place, we will see and have soul breath. You'll be able to breathe. There'll be more space, because why? It's like the tapestry is illuminating. There's space, there's energy and otherwise information moving through your body. Your brain is activating. You have soulful space to breathe into with this greater access and this clarity. It's like a restriction, almost like of the lung where you couldn't breathe, but now that's been unblocked, and now you can see, and now you can breathe. With all of that energy moving through you, you can be having a multitude of experiences all simultaneously. And because this energy is moving through you now, and you are seeing, you can see what the block has done to you truly. That's when grief and loss comes up, and this ache, this deeper ache, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe I lost play. Oh my gosh, look at how this has impacted me each and every day. Oh my gosh, I'm remembering what it felt like to be a child that had this lust for life and felt life around me. That's to feel soul around you, by the way. So you will be in this process of like having clarity, but then also having awareness. And the awareness is then creating all these different connections inside of your life. And you're seeing past, present, and future. And so you can also see into your prior life where this foggy filter was being held in place and how that blocked you from access to things that your soul really desired. How you were being cut off and amputated in ways that were so harmful for you to live out your true life path, for you to feel, for you to breathe, for you to live, for you to sing, for you to be expressed, for you to enjoy, for you to choose. Choosing in a way that was for your highest rather than in a way that minimizes the light and the soul and the truth and the love and the connectivity that is meant to move through you. So these reality collapses are moments of expansion. Ooh, are you opening up? Ooh, is your bodies, are they breathing? Soul level breaths. There is so much more space for your soul to roam. This is what it is to be broken out of the chains, the invisible chains that bind us, right? To be liberated in our truth and soul and our expression to be reconnected with soul itself, with truth itself, with creation itself. These are moments of walking ourselves home, and they're not easy because, like I said, you can be experiencing a multitude all simultaneously. And so, as I said in my response, it can be moving, and it can also be so grief-filled. It's like you're like, oh, I'm opening, and like it's so moving to you that this thing has come back home to you. You can feel it inside of your bodies. You're so glad that this puzzle piece has landed. And at the same time, it can be so grief-filled because now you're seeing, and it's like, this doesn't even just apply to you. Now you're seeing, oh my gosh, this applies to humanity at large. Humanity at large has lost play. Institutionalized education has forced this out of us. The patriarchal matrix, which attempts to, in every way, energetically and otherwise, including in your physical life, to enslave you, has stopped this deeper connection inside of you, for example, with your inner child that knows the lust with life and creation and being a high-level creator, being and enjoying, allowing yourself pleasure, and not just on the weekends, and not just reserved to a vacation, to be connected with inside of yourself and with life itself. You will grieve because you will see that there is some sincere warfare that is continuously attempting to remove us from soul, from truth, from creation, from ourselves, from life itself. And you will really know at this point what that means. And then you have to walk it out into the world. You will have to choose differently for yourself now that you have this awareness, right? Like you will have to take actions inside of your life, and those actions and those choices, those aren't easy. And you're going to have to go out among the populace of humanity that is still vastly existing with that foggy lens that now you don't have, you can see right through. And that can be really shocking. I'm clearing right now. A little bit of this burping. I was trying to not burp in the middle of what I was saying, but the clearing wants to come up and out. You all know that when we move through these transmissions, because of how this temple space is set up, that we're also clearing in part for the collective. And I'm not saying that we are ultimately responsible for these things in its totality or alone. It's simply that in some of my transmissions and how I move and how I weave, being a grandmother weaver, that there's these pathways, and it's like when I am transmitting, I am moving into the pocket. I'm moving into the debris, even to read it and transmit it and then teach around it and then show you another way, what's on the other side of that thing. And simply by bringing attention to it and being connected as I am, as so many of you are here because you're in the space to co-weave with me, right? These pockets open up inside of the collective where they're brought awareness, they're brought sight and light. And because of that, it impacts the collective, because this space, it's like not being touched, it's not being unraveled. It is while you are listening, while I am transmitting, it is being done energetically. And what happens is then that pocket opens up for more within inside of this connective, collective humanity, and in humanity's consciousness to open up, to create these kind of connections. And so there's a higher divine service that we're doing in this space where, yes, you're here to learn. You're here to evolve. You're here to grow. You're here to get pure coding, to be held in a space of safety and sanctuary, a space with high consciousness teachings that truly satiate you. And as I mentioned, and we all know here, we're also in contribution to benevolent higher timelines, to a collective shared purpose, which is benevolent evolution. And so I want to bring into this transmission, and you all know I layer on layering. I want to bring into this transmission some of the more that we're doing and you're doing by even being here and listening, because this is a collective service that is being brought through inside of this transmission that impacts not only those of you here, but it impacts the all. It impacts humanity. We're, in a way, it's like the collective brain. And when I was talking about the neurons earlier, this is what we're working with. Okay, we're activating this kind of spot that's been blocked inside of the collective brain. And we're offering it light and awareness and truth. And by doing that, we are carving out pathways for others to walk through. So when you all are with these transmissions and you move into the world and you work in digestion and integration, which you know I'm constantly calling in, like these transmissions aren't one you just listen to, you put down. No, you listen to the transmissions, you receive the coding, and you walk it out into your life, into the world. I receive messages from you all the time about how you're walking these things out into the world, how things are landing. So when you do that, when you put these transmissions into practice, it creates even greater the widening of these pathways that I'm talking about. Now you are leading through the transmission. You are living it. You are integrating it. You are therefore contributing to these pathways that we are carving out for more and more and more to come behind us, to have had some of that debris moved out so that humanity can evolve. And so this is kind of how, right, we're in a constant dance and relationship with each other in this way that is personally beneficial and impactful inside of your life, and also impactful and beneficial to the collective. This is what it means to be on the leading edge of evolution, because remember, I teach you guys about like the temple space and the architecture, and how as you get closer to the top of the tippy top of that temple space, the more and more refined it is. And that's also where, if you look at it as that pyramid, the tippy top, they're the ones that are carving it out. And what comes behind is it starts to widen. That's relative to these pathways that I'm talking about being carved out. That's what it looks like. It starts with just one, right? And it's chip and chip and chip and then there's more and chip and chip. Okay, and then there's more, and then these pathways get bigger and bigger and bigger. And this is how we ultimately impact people who are not near the leading edge, who even very long from now, you know, could be finally reaching into these pockets, hopefully sooner rather than later, because there is grace and expediting evolution. But what I'm saying is that this is that triangle shape, right? That ultimately it's like, even let's say the person that's way down at the bottom, they just lost in the amnesia at some point. At some point, the work that we do, and we do a lot in this space, right? We're being with things in a variety all the time, because this is integrated variety and evolution inside of a multitude of different life things and patterns. And I mean, right, you all know this space is full as fuck. And so we're tapping into all of these spaces, and then we're working with the threading. We're opening up these pathways. There are people all the way down at the bottom of that consciousness kind of pyramid, no shade, it just is what it is, who ultimately will receive the inheritance of what it is that we're doing in this space. And that is the place of from love and devotion that we create right inside this temple space. I'm going to return a little bit back to the reality collapse, because I want to give some more context and example, because you know that when I do that, right, it supports and the receiving of the teaching and the depth of that teaching, and then it taps into different pockets that are relative to that pocket of information. So a reality collapse that I experienced that was of great magnitude for me in my path was 7 months after I exited that long-term relationship with a narcissist that was over a decade long. I couldn't see. I was in the gaslight, right? Like all these various illusionary realities were constantly being built around me to stop my voice, my expression, my power, my sight, my might, my creator level power, my path, my purpose, my soul from coming online. Because a narcissist needs to feed off of that. If you don't know how much light and soul you're bringing in, I guarantee you there's something that will see it and try to feed off of it and take it where you're not holding it and you're not owning it. So I came out of that experience, and it wasn't until 7 months later, someone said like a single sentence to me, and it was like, boom, the awareness dropped right into place. I could suddenly see very clearly. Now, I've had these experiences throughout my life, even since I was a child. The first reality collapse that I can, nope, this isn't the first one. I had one around 5 or 6, about being here on Earth. But one that I had at 11 allowed me to see just immediately through my family, the dysfunction of my family. It was like, all of a sudden, all this stuff that had been normalized, right, inside of the gaslight, inside of the harm, inside of the abuse, inside of the dysfunctional family dynamics, it was no longer okay, because I could see so clearly through it. I knew there was dysfunction. I could see the patterns, and this thing came from here, and it was shocking. I mean, it was like going to bed one night as one person, waking up as another, because that clarity shifted my entire reality, right? And it collapsed out the previous quote unquote reality that I was living in. And so how I was then relating to the people in my family system was very different, extremely different. Many years later, this would have been around age 27. So I went 11, then this is 27. And 7 months after this, 10 year plus relationship, I had ended it. Someone said one sentence to me, and suddenly here I was, I could travel it, because you all know I travel consciousness. And so that's part of how I see patterns. So I could travel it. And it was like, oh my goodness, I could see even how the person I was in a relationship with, the reasons, like how he had come into this narcissism through his family system. And it shattered my previous reality that was built around what I call, and I likely will do another teaching around this, you guys, a purity bias. Purity bias is when, oh, I think I have talked about this actually in another transmission, but I want to do one that's really specific to this. So the purity bias is when you are so pure within, there are things that you then apply to your external reality based on your internal reality that are not accurate for your external reality. You will imply purity onto others around you. And this will not allow you to see where someone is coming from an impure, malevolent, dangerous, harmful, whatever place, because you yourself couldn't fathom coming from that same place, because that's not your point of origination. That's not where you're coming from. So in this experience that I was having with this particular reality collapse was that I saw, oh, this person never loved me. I saw the narcissism. So it led to, oh my goodness, wait a second, I was with a narcissist. Whoa. And then puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces, puzzle pieces. Oh my goodness, being with a narcissist, I could then see tracking his patterns. See, I could finally see his patterns, which allowed me to see how he played me like playing a chess game, how he moved me in very particular places. And he had done it like 20 steps ahead. Like he knew where to place me to get me to do this particular thing so many steps later on. That was not fathomable to me prior to this, because that's not how I work. And so it also led me into, oh my goodness, this person never loved me. That's not real love. I even got to the point where I went, even months, because it's processing time, but months and months later, I've never actually been loved inside of this life. Whoa. Whew. Will that blow you out? Be clarifying, but also grief-filled, of course, right? Oh my gosh, I love so much, and I have loved, but in actuality, I had never received love. So for me, when you love someone, it doesn't make sense to me that you would ever intentionally seek to harm that person. Like that doesn't add up. In my brain, there's no pathways for that. That doesn't add up. That doesn't make sense. So because he had been telling me that he loved me and I felt love for him, I was almost implying my love that I felt onto him as though he was having the same experience as me, but he wasn't, because he couldn't. And so I wasn't able to see, like, it to me, it was like, oh, if I just explain to him that this is harmful to me and I show him the logic and I tell him what my needs are and all this, okay, well, no one would actually intentionally harm you, so they would want to evolve with you. No, that was never a part of it. There was a game of chess that was being played and I couldn't even see the boards, because I didn't play that game like that. I didn't even play that game. I didn't know that was a thing. So my purity bias was implied to someone in my external reality, and it didn't allow me to see accurately. And suddenly in this reality collapse moment, I was able to see accurately. Oh my gosh, that's a thing. where someone doesn't have pure intention. They actually have not learned how to love. They don't know how to love. Whoa, what? And so I could see how this person had intentionally been harming me for over a decade. And I thought I was in a loving relationship. Well, that reality collapse, that awareness with inside of that relationship, which again, this was not easy. This was not easy. I mean, I was like crying, wailing, experiencing so many memories because my memory of that thing was foggy because it was fogged up by that filter that was inaccurate. So now I could see these memories way more clearly, and it was shocking to my system. And all of a sudden, all of these places that had disconnections and didn't have places where things could make sense, they did make sense. And I could see the immense harm and the intention of the harm. And like, that doesn't, again, just apply to this soul relationship. That shifts my filter entirely to apply to all things, where suddenly, oh my gosh, I can see that there is malevolence in this world. Ooh, like really, this is a thing. Oh my gosh, goodness gracious. And it operates in this very different way that, again, before this moment was unfathomable to me. That shook me up. And was it easy to see and feel and just be like, wow, that's a truth that's really hard to look at, but still look at it? I mean, it was hard for so many different reasons. But was it worth it? Sure as fuck was. Sure as fuck was. You all know by being here that we don't hold a belief that evolution and truth, even receiving truth itself, is always going to be easy. It's not. There's a process. But we also know that it's going to be fruitful because truth loves us. Truth reminds us. Truth sets us free. Truth leads us. And we are also here to lead. So we don't expect for truth to always feel comfortable or good in each and every moment, but we allow ourselves to receive it. If it's true, we're here to receive it. So was it easy to have this reality collapse happen? Absolutely not, but fruitful, 1000%. I can see way more clearly. I would not be able to be here teaching you all about things like the fall, the threading of the fall, architecture relative to the fall, the relational dynamics relative to all of this, and the patriarchal matrix, and then how to do things in a way that is actually more soulful, truth-filled, benevolent, creates purely, supports you inside of your life, inside of your evolutionary process. I wouldn't be able to teach you any of those things because I wouldn't even be able to see it at all. There is no liberation without truth itself. So reality collapses are experienced in variety, also simultaneously. As in when you're receiving that clarity from that puzzle piece coming in, it feels like motion and movement and soul breath and expansion, and your bodies are opening up and you're being liberated in ways that your soul has thirsted for. And at the same time, it can feel like you are almost in a way collapsing as you're rising through the inversion that you're now seeing through. It can feel like, when I say the collapse, it's like the ache, like it's like, okay, you're opening and your body's expanding, and simultaneously it can also feel like you're getting small because it's like, oh shit, that's a really big realization. It's applying to so many different areas of life. Holy shit, what the fuck, right? And oh my gosh, my heart, I'm aching, I'm grieving because I can see all of these different things inside of this contrast now that I have this awareness. It can be so many different things. And A reality collapse is an activation. It's an initiation. It's literally just the very beginning of that thing. Because like I said, you'll have to walk that clear filter or the clear lens, right, after removing the filter, out into your life. And you'll have to process everything that comes with all of the proper puzzle pieces fitting into place. As I said earlier, so many of us are experiencing this. We're experiencing these kind of moments, but there aren't people who are speaking to the phenomenon. We're not given the languaging, and that's something that you receive by being here, right? You receive validation and clarification, and as I speak things in the way that I'm able to speak them in a grounded and also like multidimensional way, and giving language for evolutionary phenomenon, you're able to validate these things more inside of your life to make sense of what's going on internally, which is crazy supportive when you're going through something like a reality collapse, because we're also then normalizing it by validating. And I'm offering you like kind of the scope of what you might experience inside of something like that, what you may have experienced inside of something like that. And these are pivotal moments. They're moments to pay attention to. Like it's showing you something that's really essential inside of your evolutionary process. There's something that's being revealed that likely somehow will connect to different patterns inside of your lived life and also your path and your purpose. It's like, oh my goodness, you got the key, you put it in the door unlocked. All of a sudden, here you're at in the corridors of initiation inside of an activation, and it's coming to you through reality collapse. How can you walk it through? Because you do have to choose, right? Like these activations can come and people can just choose not to walk them. They can walk themselves back into amnesia if they want to. Not always, it depends. But yes, it's totally possible, right? To walk yourself into delusion, back into illusion, instead of choosing what is truth and clarity and awareness. When we don't believe in ourselves as warriors of the way forward, we will cower and we'll find ways of hiding, including to ourselves and to truth itself. I lost some part of the threading here. I'm not sure what it was, but essentially to say, pay attention to these moments. Because as you walk into through those corridors, into the evolutionary initiation process, like you got the activation, now you're walking it through. These kind of pivotal moments where the key enters the lock, right? Those pivotal moments will speak to your life path. You're unlocking those doors for a reason. And if you can look at those doors and those moments in a sequence or in segments, right? Like how I can say, oh yeah, I had a reality collapse at this time and this time and this time. I gave you just a couple, but I've had many. If you can stand back and look at them, which requires you to be able to identify them, right? Like so many people are experiencing reality collapses and they can't make sense of that. They can't identify it. They might be moving through it, but they don't have wording for the phenomenon. It's like it's not able to be as grounded as what you are receiving here by listening to this teaching, right? Like it's this kind of phenomenon much more regularly is grounded inside of this space and through the transmissions. If you have the awareness of reality collapses, you can then step back and even look at them and even map them inside of your own life and go, oh, this is the realization that happened here in this reality collapse. This is the one that happened here. This is the one that happened here. Okay, now look at them kind of all together. Where is that leading you? What does that look like? How is that thematic inside of your life? These moments can also be in relationship to infiltrations that have attempted to stop you from living out your life path. Do you see? They're like intentional blockages. And that's what I'm saying. Pay attention to where the intentional blockages are placed, because those spaces are going to reveal to you what is true for your life path. And this will also support you in observing and reading and decoding your own life path. I hope that this transmission has supported you. As per usual, if you feel inspired to share relative to what you've received or how this synced up with you in your life or whatever may be moving through you, feel free to leave it in the comments section. I wanted to state here, because I don't know how much I've communicated this or not, but when you take the time to write and express what has been moving through you, it helps me better tune into you. And so that helps me when I'm like letting you all know, hey, you're flagged for this transmission. I can do more flagging for you, so it gets a little bit more customized when you are engaging in the comments and kind of letting me know how things are landing or how things are moving for you inside of your life. So feel free to do that, of course. And I just want to state, because it can't be stated too frequently, how much I love and care for you all, and I appreciate you being here. It means so much to me and my work and my life path. And it also means so much to the collective purpose that I serve and we serve here to Benevolent Evolution. Yeah. So much love to each and every one of you.